Hey guys, what's up? A little bit early in here. We'll let everybody get here till 8:45 is the time. If you guys have any questions, Tyler, how you doing? I guess might be the first time I've saw you in here. I just wanted to come in here and get an update, a few little things going on. You guys got any questions or anything like that? Feel free to fire away. Anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to hit on that's been going on that you know of? Just going to review some things and hit on a couple new things. Obviously, Willie Acres would be one of those. Hey, Colt. Hey guys, 8:45. It's Scott Strode here. BlueChips Global. Just a quick update. This might be a quick video, kind of short notice, but just wanted to get something out there today. Touch base with everybody, and hit on a couple things I thought was pretty important. First and foremost, the death of maybe the most iconic individual when we talk about West Virginia high school basketball, and that's Willie Acres of Logan, and who passed away here within the last, I guess, the last 24 hours. For those of you that don't know, maybe too young to know, me being a high school basketball, especially history nerd, Coach Akers, I call him Coach Akers. But he played at WVU, played at Logan, played at WVU with Jerry West, was on the 1959 team that played California in the national championship. So he was on that runner-up team at WVU, and then came back. He coached at Logan, won 4 AAA state titles, which was a pretty unprecedented achievement at that time, especially with the level of competition that was in West Virginia at that time. That's still a not to discount anything that's happened in the last 20, 30, 40 years, but pretty significant to win 4 state titles in AAA back in those days. And then, of course, I think he went on to serve as commissioner in Logan County for many, many years. Lots of things named after him down there in that area. So prayers to that Akers family. And again, probably in my mind, maybe the most iconic, when we talk high school basketball, maybe the most iconic figure in West Virginia, and just with the things that he's done, accomplished, been a part of. And he continued to be very, very deeply entrenched in Logan basketball there for years and years and years. And so prayers go out to the family. And look up the stories. I've seen there's several stories published already this morning from just about every publication has Metro News, even WTRF and Wheeling, and then our buddies down in the Beckley area, Logan, that they all have articles published already. You can read up a little bit on his history and um, some of the things that he accomplished aside from what I talked about. But other than that, not a whole lot on the docket. School started, I think, everywhere. Every county, I think, has school started so far. A few things, housekeeping things. We this morning about 7:30 there, I published um, the podcast with Marshall Summers. It was very good. He did an excellent job. Marshall, if you're listening, you're probably in school, but he did an excellent job in that interview. Some questions that he knew some of the questions that were coming. A couple questions I kind of hit him, come out of left field a little bit and surprised him with, and he handled them with ease. So he's done a really good job with that. Those are perfect interviews to keep to about a half hour, and nice little segments. Hey Matt, how you doing, Coach? Nice little segments to listen to those kids, get to know their personality a little bit, and I think it's fun to listen to those kids talk a little bit, and Marshall had some good insight with how his recruiting journey has went, how that all started. I'm always very interested to see how people handle that, and he made light of or give us some insight on his parents basically just kind of gave him the keys and said, here, do what you need to do, and we'll support you 100%. And so he talked about building those relationships and keeping those lines of communication open with those coaches and different things. So it's real stuff. It's all that stuff counts. And I like for kids and parents both to hear that firsthand how they handle those types of things. And because I preach over and over and over and over about those relationships, building, and how to be proactive and all those types of things. So kind of off base a little bit, but just another little housekeeping thing I wanted to let everybody know. We have did take us some time to get it all put together, but we do have a spreadsheet for everybody that was at the Hoop Summit, all the players that were at the Hoop Summit. We're going to start sending out those contact sheets for all of the coaches that were there. Every coach, not just one per school, but every coach that was there. Trying to get all the media contacts. I think I've got 3 or 4 of them in case anybody wants to reach out to them. And then also we'll have, we have my contact info as well as Isaiah's contact info on there as well. For those of you not super duper familiar, you can get on there and reference that and get to have our contact on that sheet as well. Let's see. Events wise, of course, last weekend had I wasn't there, but Isaiah had the middle school event down in Lincoln County, and kudos to those folks in Lincoln County for, and I thought it was really neat. And I love schools that have, a good vision for things like this. There's so many counties that dollars and cents wise, they struggle, and especially in their sports programs. And to see a county have some foresight, and just hustle. They put this whole day together where they had this middle school basketball event, they had a soccer event going on, had concession stands running. I hope they made a ton of money. It sounds like they did from the people that were there. Said their concession stands were just buzzing all day. The number of people that attended our event and Lincoln County got to keep those proceeds as well. But the number of people that attended their event, our event at their place was was great as well. So they did really, really well, raising some money for their athletic programs down there. And we had a great event. Absolutely, Isaiah just killed it. The guys that come in there with him, Coach Newsom and coach, and I can't remember his name. One of the assistant girls coaches at Salem College went down and assisted Isaiah there with that event. So sounds like it went really, really well. That's something that people have kind of hounded me about having for a couple of years. I just never had the uh, capacity, man, just to be able to do that, put that together with the time that I had available. So that event was, 100% Isaiah. He did all that, did all the planning, did all of the promotion, did all of the logistics, did all of the, everything. Brokered that whole thing with Lincoln County, who Lincoln County was they invited us there. They wanted to have us there. So it was really, really nice of them to invite us down and have it there with them. So coming up September, I believe it's 19th, Cabell Midland High School. Again, fall team shootout. We've had, I think, 4 teams in the last 24 hours, 36 hours that have registered. So that's going to pick up. I knew it would when we got inside a month within the event. We would have a lot of activity there. So I think the goal is, according to Coach Woomer, is to have 2 divisions, have a big school division with 3A, 4A schools, and then have a small school division with single A, double A schools. We've already got Herbert Hoover, Wayne, which are 2 of the higher profile programs. We've got, Cabell Midland, of course, Man, who's kind of rising back to prominence in the single A world. Who else? Parkersburg Catholic, who's going to be a single A contender in West Virginia as well. So high quality teams with a ton of college level players and just a lot of good players in general. Sorry about that. A lot of good players in general that'll be at that event. Let's see. But anyway, good event. And again, that'll be, that's one of Isaiah's events that he'll be. He won't be flying solo. I shouldn't say that, but he's going to be there without me. And I'm beginning to think that maybe he doesn't need me at any of those events. So he's doing so well. I am working to get him on camera. He's going to start at some point. He's going to start doing some of these updates by himself. But I'm going to have to kind of hold his hand to get him started in that. He's just a bit camera shy. So looking forward to that. But event wise, also, after such an outpouring of support with that middle school event, we had in mind. November 1st, of course, is the date that we've set for the West Virginia warm up. Hey, Marshall, how you doing? That's the date we've set for the West Virginia warm up. Those of you who don't know, the West Virginia warm up this will be the 3rd year for that event as well. Historically has not been as big of an event as the summit. We structure it just a little bit differently. And it's just not an event that we've really pushed and promoted, basically because the facilities that we've used previously, we just didn't have the capacity to have a big registration list for those for that event. So this year, with being at the bridge there in Bridgeport, it's not unlimited, but our capacity is greatly expanded. So we will be able to do probably 40. We're thinking like 40 kids per age group per session. So but we want to do high school boys, middle school boys, high school girls, middle school girls. And those are the sessions we want to do. 4 sessions. Had some people talk to us about an elementary school session. That's something we may do, but we may do that. We can do that a little bit later into November by itself. And do something that we can kind of separate that, not have it um, all of those divisions, all those age groups all pushed together. It'll make for a better event to kind of keep it separated out. But nonetheless, that's going to be November 1st at the bridge. We'll have it'll be late September, no later than October 1st, but we'll have the registration out for that. And like I said, the spots will be, they'll be very limited, probably 50 max, maybe in each age group. But we are going to try to do our first event there on the girls' side. So we're looking forward to that. Those of you who don't know, that'll bring me to another point. Joe Albright has joined our team. Joe has done about everything you can in sports media over the years, and is a excellent writer. He has posted his first, I think just one. He may have another one up by now, but he has posted his first article on Substack. So if you want to go over there on the girls hoop side, check that out. I believe I shared it on here yesterday if you go look at the timeline of what I shared, but you should be able to go over there, check that out. The article is posted for free. It is a subscription based Substack account as well, just like ours is here. But there's free content, available as well as paid. He did post this article for free just to let everybody see his writing style and all that thing. You can see he's very, very experienced. Joe had several hundred articles that he has published that he had published years back. I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He was the girls prep hoops guy in West Virginia, just like I was the boys prep hoops guy here. But he built a huge following. There's probably nobody that has more, that probably has more connections in the state with high school coaches, players, college coaches on that girls side. So he's going to help us develop that. That's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but it takes the right person. It really does. It takes the right person. Just like Isaiah on the boys side here, it takes the right person to come in and do that. You've really got to have the brain for it. You really got to have the right mindset to want to come in and develop that. And in Joe's with him, it's going to be kind of a redevelopment, rekindling all those relationships with all those high school coaches, college coaches, and really going back and kind of creating a resurgence of girls basketball in media. We just feel like he and I share the same goal. I mean, we just feel like girls have it's just ignored. It's just so ignored in West Virginia, girls sports in general. And, myself having a daughter that's actually in her first day of 6th grade, that's coming into middle school and high school sports. That kind of lingers in my mind that, the girls sports have just been so far ignored in West Virginia. And don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of print media that, they do their due diligence and take care of writing articles after games and things like that. But, to get it to the level, I want it to the level that the boys are at. Just have to, hey, Pablo, what's going on? Just have to kind of take it up on myself to make that happen. And I've wanted to do that for a couple of years, but you got to have the right people in place to develop that kind of stuff. And Joe's he's the right people for sure. So he's very well respected. And like I said, if you go over there and read his article, you'll see he's a very seasoned writer. He wrote for the News and Sentinel, was a sports writer there for the New Parkersburg News and Sentinel. He was one of the better ones they've had, and they've had some good ones down there for several years. And but he's been one of the good ones that they've had over the past 20, 30 years even. Moving right along, kind of just floating around here, all these different things. Big shout out to, and I thought this was really, really neat that they offered both of them. But Kentucky Christian University, which is an NAIA school in Grayson, Kentucky, they offered yesterday or the day before Landon and Colton Priest, the twins that play at their 2028 juniors at Wayne High School there. We're at they played in the state tournament last year. Coach Meddings has built a incredible program there almost instantly, and those two are a big part. They are kind of the cornerstone of that program right now. They were at the Hoop Summit with us. Got to have a nice long talk with them, nice long talk with their parents. Incredible high character people all the way around, and who are in our currently in our recruiting program, if you will. We've discussed that, and we've talked to the family there with what we need to do to help them out. And like I said, we're taking some clients in that regard, but not a bunch. And those ones are going to be great to work with. So we've already begun the process with them, and so kudos to them for getting those. And I know they want to stay pretty close to home, and they probably want to stay together as a package deal. So Kentucky Christian might luck out there and get both of those guys. They would be incredible players in that conference down there in Kentucky. So kudos to them. Kudos to Kentucky Christian for doing their due diligence. Hi, Annie. Annie, it's all you got your guy moved in, and not to get off track here with everybody else, but got your guy moved in up at Kent State. So that's awesome. But yeah, back to Landon and Colton Priest, 2028 got their first offers at Kentucky Christian University. Let's see, moving right along. I got for anybody in here that might know a former, some of you are from the area here, any of you that know a former player that would be at Fairmont State right now, a former high school player, somebody that'd be still interested in the game. I had Coach Boswell reach out and ask me if I could help them find a team manager, which would be a really, really cool role, especially for somebody that wants to get into coaching, teaching, coaching, especially. If you know somebody there at Fairmont State, that's a former basketball player that you think might want something like that, would be pretty cool. They're, obviously Fairmont State is a very, very high level Division II team, and probably going to be a national tournament team. And they, they're looking for a team manager, a student manager, if you will. And so if you know somebody, let me know. I can get them in contact with Coach Boswell pretty quickly. If anybody knows somebody that's at Fairmont State, a former player, they don't have to be somebody that was a great player, but just somebody that enjoys basketball, loves basketball, likes to be around the game. I know there's probably tons of guys that are there that were former players, all kinds of different places. But I can't, right off the top of my head, I couldn't think of anybody to tell him. But they'll come up with somebody. But that's an incredible opportunity for somebody to be able to go in there and be in practice every day, learn how to coach, learn how to structure practices, those types of things, and take active part in it as well if they want to. So, but anyway, anybody knows that? Anybody has any ideas on that? Somebody that might be interested, shoot me a text or a message, email, whatever you got, and let me know. Other than that, guys, I don't have a whole lot else that we have going on. We've covered the events. We've covered. Oh, let's see. Oh, we are, and I'll hit on this one more time as well. Um, we are launching. I will kind of reiterate on this. We are launching a football division of Blue Chips. Again, for those of you that don't know, that haven't heard, that haven't talked to me anytime recently. Um, okay, gotcha. Mark Rucker, former star here at Tyler Consolidated and played at WVU, also played at Glenville, and played at most recently at High Dominican, a Division II school in Ohio. He is ready to roll with that. We are trying to get our first event lined up for December before we actually do a formal rollout of everything. With social media, with the Substack. The Substack page is set up. It's just not. We just don't have content there yet. But just wanted to let everybody know on that. That is going to happen. We are working with the folks up at the Highland Sports Center. There, that's a different story. But nice folks, but they're not the most responsive people that I've ever had to work with in this industry. That's for sure. But anyway, guys, we'll wrap this up, and we're at about a half hour now. Eric Jackson, how you doing? You're almost too late. We're about ready to wrap this up. Unless anybody has any questions, type them in the chat there. We'll keep this because Annie and Eric just joined just a couple minutes ago. We can keep this going for a little bit. Anybody has any questions, concerns, comments, anything at all, type them in the chat, and we'll go from there. I just got a text from Coach Savingas from Huntington, and of course, they, for those of you who don't know, if you remember, Pearson Dijneka, that was shooting guard there at Huntington. Their family moved to Florida very recently, and Coach Savingas down there was just texting me, let me know, hey, let the people in Florida know, pop them in the rankings and things like that. But we can continue to talk about his progress there and how things are going in Huntington, or not Huntington, but Florida. But anyway, the Dijneka, I hope I'm saying that right. That family moved. They were formerly in the Huntington area. My stupid phone is going to voice text. But they were in the Huntington area. He was one of the top shooters in West Virginia, especially in 4A. Pearson was, and has a younger brother that's middle school was probably going to be a pretty high level player as well. But Pearson had just really started getting some traction recruiting wise up here, and the family had decided to move down there. But he'll make do down there and do really, really well. That's we've got Eric. I saw PHS Coach Wilson has you guys signed up for the shootout down there at Cabell Midland. That's shaping up to be a really, really good event. We are not we. Isaiah is really working hard to get some other some of the higher level teams in West Virginia involved in that event, so we can have. Um, I think the goal is probably 8 and 8, 16 teams total, if I remember right. 8 in the big school division, 8 in the small school division, make for a really, really good 1 day event down there. So they have 3 gyms. I've never been to Cabell Midland, but 3 gyms. I'm told it's one of the nicer high school facilities in West Virginia for sure. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. You know, we have got so many in the last 30 days. We have got so many requests for people that want us to come, that want to host an event with us. And it's going to be totally impossible to do them all, but it is our responsibility, I think, to consider all of those, even if we can't really do them. But if we can't do them in the immediate, it's something that we need to consider. The folks at Logan, I can't think of the name, the Chief Logan Resort Park, whatever. I guess they built a new facility down there. They have invited us to do. That's one that we can come back to, of course, and something and get something put into place down there eventually. But that's those are places that we like to work with. But we've got so many of those requests from folks at high schools, from just individual places that have wanted us to come and just do something. And we would love to do them all. Don't get me wrong, but it's just it's impossible. But we are going to consider just about anything that we think we can reasonably pull off event wise. Um, so but it's got to make sense to do it timing wise as well, to where we don't have a big overlap because of with geography, or with event wise, we don't have two you know maybe two middle school events that are too close together, and we don't want to run into that. We want to make every event special for the kids that are participating. And so we just have to be very, very mindful of what we pick and choose and where it's at and all those types of things. So but we're very gracious. I just got a message from Coach Ward there at Lincoln, and um, we've been so blessed to come in contact with so many people like the guys at Lincoln County that just they just want the best for their kids. Is all they want. That event wasn't there to highlight kids from Lincoln County. It was to help prop up all of their athletic programs monetarily, and help keep them funded. So those basketball coaches that invited us down there, they're big picture guys. They see the value in raising money for everything for as many kids as possible. And so um, kudos to them. That's pretty impressive, folks. Pretty impressive, folks. But you know, we um, we have event wise, we have some things that are in development. We have a big list of things that are in development. Um, you know, and that includes the Blue Chips Academy stuff that is in development, but we are doing that includes and that encompasses um, our fall league team that'll play at Anderson Court. That also includes our post grad team that will start play in probably October, November. And we are still actively looking for players for that team. Um, and just to give you a short rundown of that whole deal, that post grad group will play on campus, primarily on college campuses. For instance, I'll run down through in my mind last year. So we played at Davis and Elkins. So we went to Davis and Elkins. We played Davis and Elkins and Waynesburg, JV or developmental rosters. We played at U Pike. We got to play U Pike and Millersburg, JV team, Milligan JV teams. Um, one on one on the day there. Um, we played the varsity team at Appalachian Bible College. We played Potomac State's varsity. We played, let's see, Penn State, Altoona, and who else am I missing? I'm missing because we played almost 20 games, and I'm totally. Um, oh, we played. So we played the two. We played the two. Yeah, that's what it was. We played the two jamborees, the one in Pittsburgh, the one in Bridgeport. So anyway, that that post grad deal, and to be able to take kids and get on campus with them, actually on campus in front of the coaches, where the coaches are, they're trying to teach their own kids, get them better, but they're also evaluating the opponent. So that's the whole angle of that. I didn't invent that, that setup. That is something that is being done in several places, more places now than ever. I've seen some new programs like that pop up. Um, it's not a school; it's for kids that have graduated and want to, find their path to college basketball. And maybe they didn't have any offers, or maybe the offers were too um, just were not good enough. Maybe monetarily, when they graduated, they just didn't have anything in place that they could afford, maybe. And this is their opportunity to jump back out there, get in these games on campus, and get evaluated. And we had, oh golly, we had several kids that had offers that stemmed from almost every place we went. We had somebody that had opportunity, had offers either before we left, or the day after, or what have you. So it's a real thing. It's probably the most effective way to get recruited. I mean, honestly, because there's just 20 kids in the gym, and half of them are our guys, and they're the ones that's getting evaluated by either one or two coaching staff. So if, from efficiency standpoint, it just doesn't get any better than that. Pablo, do is there any down where you're at, Tennessee, is there any type of programs like that? I know there's post grad programs that are associated with schools, but we take kids that they can be in school at anywhere, really, and participate with us. Come in and practice, get the workouts with us, and then with Coach Newsom, and then we have these games scheduled that are, like I said, on campus at Bethany, Waynesburg, um, maybe Franciscan. But we'll go probably back to U Pike, which U Pike is one of the top ten NAIA schools in the country right now. So that's kind of an honor to get invited down there to play. We'll go to Concord. Concord has developmental roster, a pretty expansive developmental roster right now. So we've been invited to be down there. Davis and Elkins again. We're hoping to get scheduled with West Virginia Wesleyan. And I'm trying to think of who else. So we have lots of opportunities. Honestly, we turned down a lot of places, a lot of the Division III schools that were, a few 3-4 hours away, that we just, logistically just couldn't make happen. We that was my big fear when we started this program, was there wouldn't be enough people to play, and I was totally wrong. There are more places we can play that we could play 60, 80 games a year if we wanted to, but we want to keep it to 20 or 30, and be really strategic in the places that we go where our kids will have a an actual opportunity to play. So right now that roster is wide open. We've got a couple guys that have jumped aboard and somewhat committed to playing most of those events. And that's the other thing is we get it. There's not, we want guys that can get in there and play every event, but we understand too that some guys are, obviously they're in school somewhere. They might have a part time job and you've got some family obligations, so there's just different things that come into play there. But, we had a nice core group of guys, several kids from Parkersburg, several kids from the Pittsburgh area that played with us last year. And we were very, very fortunate to have those guys because they literally made it happen. They really made it happen. So we were very, very fortunate to have those guys and have them travel with us and make almost every event. Garrett College is another one, a JUCO over in Maryland, Garrett County, Maryland, is another one we went to and played, and that just popped right in my head. So yeah, if you guys know anybody that would be interested in that, they can be 2025s, they can be 2026s. We will even take a limited amount of current seniors. Now, once we get to November 1st, the kids that play in the SSAC schools would not be eligible to play with us. We had several that played with us last year. Ellie and Eric played with us, who's at Kent State now. We had, Connor Ball once. We had, oh gosh, I mean, there was so many guys that played with us at one time or another throughout that whole process. And it was just, it was really, really good. And it got some guys' eyes opened for sure. Isaiah Turner was one of those guys. Of course, he's not an SSAC school. He's at private school there with Tays Valley, but he was one of the guys that absolutely killed it when we went to Davis and Elkins and played their JV squad. So, that got a lot of people talking about him and kept kept his name on a lot of people's list, very, very early. But anyway, we aren't able, once we get to the school season per the SSAC rules, and I've confirmed this with the SSAC, we can play anybody in high school from any high school up until that day that the official season starts in November. Any kid can play on those squads. Actually, Pearson Jisneka that I just spoke of, he played in the Pittsburgh Jamboree with us last year as a incoming junior. So, those Elian played with us at Bridgeport and had a huge day over there. It's and I know it's a little bit outside the box from what people are used to, but some kids just need that extra bump. They just need that extra development time. They need that extra, for some guys like Ellen, that was probably the most competition that I'm sure it was the best competition that he saw the entire year. Because, where he plays at a smaller school he played at a smaller school in Ohio. He really needed that. He really needed that bump, and he turned so many heads. He got so many people talking about him, and that was. I feel like it was crucial for him to kind of find his ceiling there. To play because that's what good players do. They play up to their full potential when they're faced with guys that are 100%. Thank you, Annie. And that's what competition does. It pushes you up to find your ceiling. And for some guys, that ceiling changes, day to day, week to week, month to month, season to season. But you got to find it. You got to face, high level enough competition that you can find that ceiling. And for Elian, that was, we saw it. We saw it, and he walked the walk that day, and couldn't have been prouder of a kid, walking into that um, that environment and performing the way he did, knowing, the small school that he came from, and what he, had faced previously. So I thought that was pretty special, but that's just, that's one example, um, of what that, what that can do for you. So, um, anyway, back to that, the post grad stuff. We'll have, I'll have some details on that. The schedule is really in development. We know what we're probably going to have November, December, January. Um, where we're going to be then, where we're going, what we're going to do up to that point with the post grad group is kind of unknown. There's just this year, there's not a lot of events around. There's one in October. Still undecided if we're going to participate in that, but and that's in Wheeling. That's actually in Triadelphia at the Highlands, a JUCO jamboree up there that we could play in. But anyway, um, the 2026 class had so many kids that signed and signed early. There's not going to be a lot of guys in West Virginia that's going to be available, and I know that. So hoping to get two or three of those guys. I'm reaching out to some of those guys actually today, and we're going to kind of go from there. But so anyway, that's if anybody needs any information on that, and I know that's such a new thing to West Virginia. We do have a post grad. We have a post grad program with, I think Taze Valley Christian has one now. Not 100%. I'm not 100% on that, but Expressions Prep has one. And what that means for those of you that don't, once you graduate, you get an extra year. It's called a post grad gap year, whatever, but it gives you a chance to play basketball for a year before you actually enter college. A lot of different ways to approach that, to entertain that idea. We're trying to develop that, and mesh it into our quote unquote academy idea that we have in development. So, is there a time that we may have an actual campus that we can do that? That is something we are actively pursuing. We really tried really, really, really hard to get on campus at Alderson Broadus and strike a deal with those folks. They just weren't ready for something like that, or that, for that kind of commitment on their side. I thought we had an incredible business plan wrote up to not just support us, but to support the activity there on the campus and create some extra activity for them. But I don't think they were quite ready for as much, as what I threw at them activity wise. But we may revisit that. We may go back and revisit that idea again with them here in the next year or so. And but other than that, we are, like I said, we are actively looking for a physical brick and mortar campus to do this post grad academy with. For now, we're going to be quote unquote housed in the bridge there in Bridgeport because it's the most centrally located, from a logistical standpoint, with 79, Route 50, 79 kind of connecting everything there in the Charleston area with 64 and 77 and all that. So, it sits right there adjacent to I-79. So we feel like that's the best place to kind of work out of. And, so they have everything that we need there. So anyway, more on that. We'll keep talking about that in weeks to come, but that's what we're looking at. So, any other questions? Anybody else got anything at all before we kind of turn everybody loose here? We've been on here 50 minutes. But anyway, yeah, we can go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Appreciate everybody coming on, and again, if you have any questions, about anything that we've talked about, don't be afraid to reach out. Let me know what I can do for you. Again, for those of you that had players, or if you were a player at the summit, I'm going to send out those contact lists for all the coaches that were there, and the media, and the folks that were running the event, which was me and Isaiah. So look for those, and make sure you check because this will be the first email a lot of you get from my account, which will be BlueChipsInternational@gmail. Make sure within the next 24 hours, 48 hours, you are checking your spam folders. If you typically don't get email from us or contact from us, check your spam folders for that spreadsheet. It'll be an attachment. It'll be a spreadsheet. So check that. If you have any trouble getting it, or you just don't see it here within the next 48 hours, reach out to me so I can send it to you, individually. Or if you would rather have it, if you'd rather me text it to you, this list to you, I can do that just as easy as anything. So, or if you would like to have it both ways, please let me know. But otherwise, we'll wrap this up, guys. Appreciate y'all coming in, and have a great Wednesday. See ya.